Hi, my name is Nick. I am the program lead for the Internet Archive's Open Library project. And today we are going to talk about adding a new language for internationalizing the openlibrary.org website. And so the first thing I'm going to do here is share my screen and briefly describe what internationalization is. So if I go to openlibrary.org, our homepage, we can see that the website is in English by default. Uh, it will use my browser to determine what language should be presented. And I can also scroll to the bottom here and, well, actually, I guess that's not in this version. So what I'm going to do is add a question mark, lang equals FR, which is the ISO standard name for or code for the French language, and press enter. And we're going to see that when I press enter, browse, more, and some of the other navigation options are translated into French. So I'm going to do that now. And here we see that the website is being translated into French. So one question is, how does that work behind the scenes, and how can we contribute as a translator to this project and even add a new language? So there's documentation on this process at openlibrary.org/i18n. It's called i18n as an abbreviation for internationalization because there's 18 characters in between the I and N in the word internationalization. Okay, so when I press enter, we should be redirected to a guide on our code website, which is hosted on GitHub. And if we scroll down, it tells us all about the background and the process for contributing translations and compiling them down. A lot of this won't be necessary for our less technical contributors who just want to contribute the translations themselves. Members of staff and our community can assist you with the other stages, such as the compiling down into code. But for now, we're just going to look at adding a new language. So what we're going to do is open up a new tab where we go to github.com/internetarchive/openlibrary. This is going to bring us to the homepage for OpenLibrary's code. And we're going to simultaneously have our other tab open with the internationalization README that we just navigated to. We're going to scroll down to the section that says adding a new language. So it says first, identify within Wikipedia under the international standards the correct country code for the language that we want to add. And it says create the folder within openlibrary.org/i18n, which we'll do in a second. So I'm going to open this Wikipedia page in a new tab. And in this case, we're going to add Japanese. So I'm going to just do a search for Japanese, and here we see the country code under this ISO 639-1 column is JA. So I'm going to save that in my memory really quickly. I can copy it. And then I look at the next step. It says create a new folder in OpenLibrary i18n. So now I'm going to go to my third tab here, which is kind of the home page for our code. And the first thing I'm going to do is go into the Open Library directory and then the i18n directory. So here I see Open Library, and then I see i18n. And we'll notice that there's a few languages that are already here, such as Spanish, German, French, etc., Polish. And we see an option on the upper right-hand corner here called Add File. So we're going to create a new file rather than upload one. And I think this is the first slightly confusing interface, because here it looks like what's happening is we are adding a new file, but we actually want to add a new directory. And we can accomplish that by typing JA, which is the directory that we want, but then typing tab, then typing slash, like one of these slashes separating these folders, and it will turn that into a folder. So now we're primed to create this folder, and we're going to create a file within this folder. So why don't we open up this i18n directory again in a new tab. I'm going to press Control and then click. That's going to open the contents of i18n in a new tab, because I want to see what other files are listed in some of these other examples. So Spanish, for instance, we'll see that within the Spanish directory, for a language that already exists, a language that's already been partially internationalized, we'll see there's a file called messages.po. And so I'm going to copy that name, and I'm going to click the file to enter it. And here we see some details and translations. So for our new file, I'm going to call it messages.po. So now we have openlibrary /i18n/JA, which is the language code that we got from Wikipedia, /messages.po. And I'm going to just copy over just this first part here. Just this first part. And I'm also going to check. We're going to need to modify this slightly, I believe. But I'm going to go back to our README to see here. So make a copy of the latest messages to translate. The messages template file should be copied as messages.po. Note the difference in the extension. Okay. Okay. I think this can all likely be added as is. And so eventually what we're going to want to do is copy each one of these message strings and then provide a translation. So for now, I'm just going to copy one of them. And because this is Japanese, I imagine we're going to say konnichiwa or something of the effect instead of hola, which is from the Spanish translation. So I'm going to copy our translation and I hope that I'm doing it correctly here. And this is also going to be slightly complicated, I think, because I believe we might be doing this right to left. And so I think we're going to want to put it here. Now, I could be wrong about this, but hopefully this still gives folks in our community an idea. So please forgive my ignorance here. So here, presumably, we have konnichiwa and then the username. And then we would do the same thing for the other translations. We would copy this section, and then we would replace the previous translation with the correct translation. And then once we are satisfied, we can say, go down to the section that says commit a new file. We can say adding language support for, in this case, Japanese, i18n. And something that's really important is below our email, we should see an option that says commit directly to the master branch or create a new branch for this commit. And we do want to create a new branch. And here I'm just going to call this i18n dash JA. And then I will click propose a new file. And then I can leave some notes here, such as this provides an initial internationalization for Japanese. And then in this case, I don't know that any of these other elements are important, although I can tag other teammates so that they're aware that we have some progress here. And then I click create pull request. And there we have it. We have a new translation, which should appear under the pull request section. And now the community can review these and approve them. And then in the future, what will happen is if we go back to openlibrary i18n and then the correct language, in this case, I'm going to stay in Spanish. Then once our changes become merged into the project, we can then just click on this edit button in the future because the file will already exist. And then we can either add additional translations or we can modify them and then do the same thing where we create a new branch and commit changes. I hope this has been a helpful rudimentary introduction to adding new language support to openlibrary. And if you have any questions, you can send an email to mek@archive.org or ping me at mekarpelis on GitHub. And we can do our best to help you be successful as a translator for openlibrary's internationalization. Thank you so much.